Hello, and thank you for viewing this presentation. My name is Audrey Lundahl. I'm an instructional designer at Texas Women's University, and the title of my presentation is From OER to OEP, Building a Community of Practice. Before I get into my experience building an open educational practices community on my campus, I wanted to give some background about TWU in hopes that it kind of highlights some of the reasons OER OEP is impactful to our students and also to provide some context for the buy-in we have from instructors. So TWU is 89% women. It's been integrated to include men since the 90s, but still majority women, about 16,000 total students. It's ranked the third most affordable institution in Texas and fourth in the nation for student diversity. It is considered a majority-minority institution with 67% students of color on our campus and grade A in Black student representation. The focus of this presentation is on how I was able to help expand the OER interest on our campus and focus on practices as well as resources. So I'll start by telling you a little about our history with OER. About 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, the TW Library began offering $1,000 mini grants to faculty who were willing to transition their courses to include open educational resources. So instructors who received the grant were partnered with a librarian who helped them find open resources to help replace their textbooks and other paid materials that they used in their courses. So some instructors who went through the mini grant program also ended up applying for larger grants where they worked on OERs at a more programmatic level. This included our dental hygiene program and our first year composition program. So the library asked our department, Teaching and Learning with Technology, to be involved to help address any design questions that might come along with transitioning to using OERs. So I met with each participant to help them design their courses to enhance their new OER use. This included how to share their resources in the LMS, as well as how to add different learning activities that worked with the new resources to help replace some of the built-in kind of textbook study questions, quiz questions, and things like that. Since we had so many instructors who really embraced using OERs through this mini grant program, we wanted to expand the pedagogical aspects of open education. In other words, we hope that we could encourage instructors to embrace more open educational practices and kind of use their OER transition as the starting point to include practices as well. So I recruited from the grant recipients to put together this community of practice, which was a group of instructors and a couple librarians who were interested in kind of spreading the word about OER and OEP on our campus. So we started by establishing some goals. These included increasing awareness of what OEP is and what it can look like in the classroom, developing specific classroom practices that we could share. We also hosted some campus activities like presentations and kind of a group study time. And we also integrated open educational practices in our own courses where we really focused on good course design. So the community of practice, after meeting and establishing our goals, we got to work with some specific actions. First, we started with the awareness piece. We spread the word by talking about OEP at our different faculty meetings, professional development workshops, other campus events. We wanted to start with sharing with other instructors about what OEP is. Next, we worked on creating a public list of resources to support instructors using OEP. This list included different research articles, upcoming conferences, certification programs, websites that had different activities and other ideas. And then we also shared our own resources that we created through our classes. So this included things like study questions, discussion questions, and other textbook aids that were usually provided by the publisher, and that with using OERs, a lot of our instructors were creating themselves instead. We then worked in teams to present at OER conferences and symposia about the practices aspect of open education, and we really focused on sharing the work that we did around creating materials that went along with OERs. We also created an OER OEP badge that instructors could include in their email signatures and on their websites, on their syllabi, to help continue spreading awareness. And then we wrote an OER OEP syllabus statement to help students understand why and how instructors were using these resources and practices. And all of these actions happened over about a 2-year period. So after we had worked to build up our community, we decided to host an OEP virtual conference in order to kind of expand this conversation on our campus, and also to introduce TWU as a campus that was invested in OEP and connect with other instructors at different institutions. So we funded this conference through our department with a budget of $7,500. I recruited a conference committee from our larger community of practice. Our larger community of practice included about 25. In the conference committee, we had 8 instructors plus me. We wrote our conference materials, including our announcement of the conference and our call for presentations, to really emphasize the pedagogical aspects of OER. So in other words, we asked presenters to reflect on how using OERs led them to embrace more open practices in their classrooms. So we also chose and invited our keynote speaker based on the emphasis on thinking about education, open education beyond just the resources part of that. We had 20 presentations, about 43 presenters, including international instructors, around 20 presenters, so about half of them were from TWU. And I thought it was a great success. We had a lot of great conversations, and a lot of instructors from TWU and other places were able to attend and be a part of this conversation about what practices specifically look like. So now that we have a conference under our belts, the community of practice has a few goals for the future. We want to undergo an assessment project to see what the impact of OER OEP use is on our students, especially in terms of inclusivity and how this helps with student success. We hope to also keep the awareness going and keep encouraging instructors to talk about how they're using OEP, and also to share the materials that they're creating under a common license. And we hope to make the conference annual, or at least every 2 years. And we're currently working on a teaching and learning guide for incorporating open educational practices in our courses, which will include links to openly available study guides and things like that. Thank you so much for watching. Please reach out to me if you want to talk more about open educational practices, building a community of practice, or if you have any other questions.